Let's talk about Nintendo's first 3D system. Not the 3DS, not even the Virtual Boy. So before we talk about the Famicom 3D system, let's talk about the Famicom and the Famicom disk system. So the Famicom disk system launched as kind of an adapter for the Famicom, allowing you to play cheaper versions of the games via 3.5-inch floppy disk. So it connected to the Famicom via the RAM adapter here. You can see the port on the back and the adapter connecting to the Famicom card slot. And then on the side of the Famicom, you have a third player expansion port, which you need to use in order to connect the Famicom 3D system to the Famicom. So here we have the Famicom 3D system itself. Basically, it's a pair of 3D glasses, like virtual reality glasses, I guess is how many of us envision them to look. But on the back here, you can see how this all fits together. So you have the Famicom 3D system, the games that go in each. The Famicom disk system connection to the Famicom, like I said, and then you have the adapter for the Famicom 3D system that will plug into the third player port. So this is that adapter like I was talking about. These are basically the only two things that come in the Famicom 3D system box. Here you have two ports though. Just in case you're playing two-player, you can plug in two 3D systems into the adapter. And then here's the 3D system headset itself. It's very lightweight compared to like the Virtual Boy, and essentially it's just a pair of active shutters that cover your eye, and then yeah, it'll present the image basically like how a 3DS presents a 3D image to you. It's how the Famicom 3D system will present that image to you as well. So connecting it to the actual Famicom itself, like I said, you just plug it into the third player expansion port. And then, yeah, we'll take a look at how this actually works on the TV itself. So when you start up a game, you can select it to go into a 3D setting just by hitting select on the controller. And then when you put the headset to your head and like you cover your eyes with the shutters, like I said, it's an active shutter system. So essentially it's just closing off one shutter and it's going back and forth. You can kind of see the shutters closing left and right side there. I've got the camera set to 24p, so you can see it kind of going off and on, and that basically allows your eyes to see just the left picture, just the right picture, and put the picture together, and then your brain will mash that into a 3D image. But there are only 8 games that released for the 3D system, kind of like the Virtual Boy. It's just very few games for it. You had 4 games for the Famicom disk system, and then 4 games for the Famicom itself. And you can tell which games are for the Famicom 3D system because they'll have 3D written somewhere on the box or on the cover art. So the first game we'll look at is Famicom Grand Prix 2 3D Hot Rally, and it's actually the only Nintendo developed Famicom 3D system game. But essentially, like, all of these games are going to be variations of the same thing. Oh yeah, and by the way, get ready to see this a lot if you're going to play Famicom disk system games. So when that comes up, you're basically going to have to walk over to the Famicom, eject the disc, flip it over, reinsert it, and then it'll automatically start reading from the disc, and then it'll load the game. So it seems like part A is just like startup, and then part B is all the game information. But yeah, like I was saying, 3D Hot Rally is essentially just a racing game. All these games are going to be variations of the same thing. It's a static image moving forward, and then I guess that makes sense if you're going to do 3D though. The next game up is going to be Tomodachi Daisakusen, and that's a 3D World Runner. Just like the name implies, it's a kind of, not an endless runner, but a runner type game. Much like with 3D Hot Rally, it's just a static image moving forward. and here the goal is to avoid like obstacles in the world and then enemies in the world, jump over pits, and then collect items. Next one up is Fune Shorin Ken. This one is actually a little bit different. Well, actually, it's a lot different than the rest of the games. It's a 2D fighting game, which is kind of interesting, except for this game is hard as crap. Like, I had to use a turbo controller to get past this guy, but then the next guy wrecked me just as bad as this guy did. So, I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of like special moves you can do with button combinations and stuff. But, I don't know. I didn't really like the 3D with that one. And then this one is probably the most expensive of them all, and that's Falchion. And it's probably one of the most appropriate types of games for the 3D system. So it's a Konami game, and it's I guess, I don't know, it's a shmup game. I'm trying to describe, it's not like a vertical shmup or a horizontal shmup, like, I guess 3D shmup is the best way to put it. Okay, the first Famicom game up is called Attack Animal Gakuen. This one, I guess, is kind of appropriate for this too. It's kind of like a shmup and a runner mixed together. There's the Sega game, I can't think of the name of it, but this plays a lot like it. Basically, like with 3D World Runner, you're just trying to avoid obstacles and stuff, but this time you have a gun that you can shoot. And yeah, you're trying to clear your way and then get a high score. The next Famicom game up is Highway Star, and this released in the US as Rad Racer. And then basically, like with 3D Hot Rally, it's a racing game. I guess it looks pretty cool in 3D, but it doesn't necessarily need to be 3D. Alright, next up is JJ Tobadase Daisa Kusen Part 2. Oof, that's the sequel to the first Famicom Disk System game. And then, much like with the first game, you're essentially doing the same thing. It just looks a lot better, plays a lot faster since it's actually on the Famicom. And, yeah, I don't know if you had a gun in the first game. I couldn't shoot anything, but I didn't really play that far into it. Alright, and the last game up is going to be Cosmic Epsilon, and this is another one where I think it's fairly appropriate for the 3D system. Then, since it's on the Famicom, I guess, it looks really good. And then, yeah, it's just... I love Nintendo cutscenes. But here you have, like, twin weapons that you can fire into oncoming enemies and stuff, and then it just, like I said, it looks really good, and it plays really good. Yeah guys, that's going to be the Famicom 3D system. So one of my favorite things about this whole thing is the product code for the 3D system, specifically the headset, and that's going to be HVC 3DS. And that's just kind of like how forward-thinking Nintendo is and like how much they're actually rooted in their past, which kind of makes me love them as a company. But yeah guys, thanks for watching this video, hope you liked it, and take it easy. Later.